Hello, I'm the Pink Phantom, and this is my podcast. Join me as I delve into the world of games and gaming, and especially old school RPGs. Together, let's voyage into the astral realm and check out my phantom thoughts. In this episode, I talk about a little bit about character creation, particularly in the RPG Realms of Peril. I created another creature using the MonsterCraft Cauldron book from D.W. Dalton Adventures, and the humanoids are still on the march in my AD&D solo campaign. And now, just for a little more rambling, if you haven't had enough, I've been trying to go through all the PDFs and books and stuff that I've accumulated over time. That you see stuff on Kickstarter, or you see stuff at there's that deal on Drive-Thru RPG. Can't miss that. And a lot of the stuff I've just glanced through, and some of it I haven't looked through at all. And just to see what we have, I'm trying to organize what I've got to help more with the solo campaign and with other things. One of the things I ran across, and it's an actual physical book, which means it had to have been a Kickstarter because that's about the only time I end up getting physical books these days, called Realms of Peril, classic fantasy adventure game, and it's by Spell Sword Quality Home Entertainment. And as I was just leafing through it, I got to the character creation part, which is 21 pages into a booklet that's about 80 pages long, so we're a quarter of the way getting to character creation. And so this is one of those RPGs that's been come out in the last several years where they've made the determination that since a lot of times, particularly in old school games, the only thing you tend to use the stat block for is for the bonuses. And so you're just generating bonuses. But they are rolling 3d6 to generate the bonuses. And what caught me was just the chart. And looking at it, it looked a little off to me. And it was, you're rolling to determine your rating in each ability. And the ratings run from -3 to +3. Of course, right at the middle, you got a 0. And the extremes, you have to roll a 3 to get a -3. You have to roll an 18 to get a +3. And then all the rest of the possibilities were either 3 or 4 numbers. So -2, -1, 0, and +1, there are 3 numbers you could roll to get it. And then +2, there were only 2. But, I guess something clicked in my brain that, with 3d6, it's not a straight distribution. Just because 3 numbers give you this result and 3 other numbers give you this result don't mean it's an even chance, because as you get more toward the average, the more likely it is. And so I started taking a little more look at it, and I realized that the way it's set up, and the middle range is 10 to 12, and the average on a 3d6 is, I think, 11.5. So, is it 11.5? 10.5, 11.5. It's somewhere in there. Let's see. 3, 6, 9, 10, 10.5. And that gets you 0. But what I realized was, while the very extremes, -3 and +3, you had the same chances of getting that. When you added in that next group, the +2 and the -2, you have twice as much chance of getting a -2 or a -3 as you do getting a +2 or +3. Now, it's not a very high chance either way, but it's twice as much. And looking at the numbers for -1 and +1, you have a 30% greater chance of getting a -1 as a +1. So the end result is this generation system is more likely than not going to give you ratings that are negative than they are to give you ratings that are positive. Now, typically, particularly in role-playing games that embrace the 3d6 concept of generating ability scores, the bonuses are usually kind of symmetrical. You get nothing in the middle, and the farther you get from the middle, you have equal chances to get the -1, the +1, what have you. So having it set up this way, I thought was kind of interesting. It was one of those things that you just don't see. And I also wondered if you're just worried about the rating or the bonus in the, what they call the rating in this case, then why use 3d6 other than you're just trying to tap into old school D&D? And I think this was probably put forward on the Kickstarter as, well, it does say classic fantasy adventure game, which that would be coming from more of an old school D&D concept. But still, if you're going to do just bonuses, why not have a percentile and have them be even chance of above average, even chance of below average, above average, below average, even chance of excellent and poor. I just that was something that struck me as odd. The other interesting thing about this is that one of the things you do is you roll to see what type of kinfolk you are, and those chances are, let's see, human, dwarf, elf, and halfling. You're rolling a d12, and 1 to 9 gets you a human, and all the others are one number each. 10 for dwarf, 11 for elf, and 12 for halfling. So that was interesting. And furthermore, then once you get your kinfolk, you roll for a background. And this is where there's a real big difference. The dwarf, elf, and halfling, you roll 1d8 to determine your background. For a human, you roll a d100. So 12 times as many. You have a 9-time better chance of being a human kinfolk, and then you have 12 times as many backgrounds to choose from. So I thought that was interesting, and flipping through, it's an interesting little book, and it actually came as 2 booklets: the Adventurer's Field Guide, which is where the character creation is, of course, and then the, let's see, what do they call their GM? Oh, that's not it. It's an entirely different book. Here we go. The Game Master's Handbook. Okay, so they do call it a GM. All right. So more generic thing. What is this one? Okay. Oh, another book to go through. Anyway, that's my little rambling report. I think I've got one more ramble in me before I close things up. So let's see what I'm up to next. After creating a monster rolling on the charts in the MonsterCraft Cauldron, Monster Biomimetic Random Monster Generator by D.W. Dalton Games, I had gotten in my head what the prey of this creature would look like. Now, my original creature was sort of a segmented, trilobite-looking creature in a desert environment. I settled on the name of Xerix for them, spelled with an X, of course. And having them kind of going across the desert on a lot of little legs, and when they find their prey, they wrap around them to suffocate them before using some horn-like extensions to lock into them and kill them and feed on them. I came up with the idea that they were their natural prey was a sort of intelligent tumbleweed that tumbled along, and I thought I would create that, since I had a basic idea of what I was looking for, simply by choosing from the charts. There were a couple of places where I rolled just to get sort of the stat part of it done, but what I came up with was that they were small, they had an unstructured mass, and that they were composed of a group of similar cells that easily varied in shape, which, tumbleweeds kind of move around. They have sort of like branches that wrap around, but they're have kind of a more mobile shape. So not completely mobile, like a shape like an amoeba, but something that can change. And then when I got to the idea of their mode of transport, course, tumbleweeds are driven by the wind across the ground. I came up with the idea. One of the options was air intake and expulsion. So I came up with the idea that they generally roll along the ground by absorbing air and shooting it out the tubes of their basic branches, but they could also use it to kind of propel themselves in jumps if they needed to get away. Their skeleton is a surface membrane, so I think of that like maybe they're not quite woody branches, but they're just kind of held in place by some sort of harder type cell structure. They are a wandering grazer for their feeding source, because I'd also come up with the idea as I was creating the first monster, the Xerix, that maybe they, at that time, before I settled on the tumbleweed idea, that they fed on deposits of metal that were kind of blown across the desert and settled in low places. And so that's what I figured would be, since these are more of a plant-like creature, that would be what they would do. For feed structures, one of the choices was elixir magic. So since they're feeding on kind of an inorganic substance, they kind of absorb it, use some kind of liquid form to penetrate and absorb it magically. And then for their intelligence, I rolled a die and came up with a diffuse intelligence, which means it's spread throughout the body and highly proactive. So they kind of take note of their environment and they react. For their senses and behavior, they have body awareness, evading frequently, direction sense, so they can track, escape, play. So they have a way of sensing these metal-rich dusts that are blowing around the desert, and pressure sense, which their actions may vary according to the weather, was a behavior that was sort of tied to that. And then they actually did roll up as having spells and spell slots. I made a mistake when generating the Xerix of that before, but they had 10 spell slots, and they ended up with a couple of spells, and I just chose Long Strider to give them a chance to escape from their predators, and Web for a chance of slowing down their predators. And possibly that would also be useful if they felt with their pressure sense some wind coming up, they could spread that across. If they had found a particularly rich spot of ore or metal dust, they could spread that to keep it in place. And then on the bizarre distinct chart, I picked spiny surface, which I think fits with them being a tumbleweed type creature, offspring that buds from their body, I think that makes sense, and hibernates in the cold season. That seemed to fit what I was looking at. And I settled on the name of Wisple, because when they blow the air out, it could be like a whisper. And just an intelligent tumbleweed with air jets that feed on metal ore and metal dust in the desert. So that's just kind of a follow-up to the last episode using the MonsterCraft Cauldron. That one I was rolling on the charts. This one I had more of an idea. I wanted to see, could I use the charts to kind of build that idea? And I think it came out pretty good. And I think looking at the charts gave me a sense of the creature, or maybe altered my perspective on how the creature works. And in terms of stats, the 5e stats, it came up as a 4 challenge rating with an armor class of 1, 116 hit points. They're very generous with the hit points in this thing, but I think that 5e is kind of a hit point inflation RPG, I think, compared to most. A speed of 30, a proficiency bonus of 4, an attack of +6, damage of 5d4 +6, DC save of 16, and initiative of 2. And strength 7, dexterity 12, constitution 10, intelligence 16, wisdom 8, and charisma 5. So another creature coming up with using that book. It's supposed to kickstart at some point, so it'll be interesting to see how well that does. And when it does, I'll mention it and give a link if anybody out there is interested in it. And now, more from my solo AD&D RPG campaign, Tales of the Dragon Slayers. To finish up day 115 of Hanging with the Humanoids, we've got a battle between a group of bugbears that's wandering around the wilderness here and a group of aspis that they've run across. So to sum up, there's 16 aspis. They don't have any kind of leader type creatures. They are 6 hit die creatures. I've rolled them up as having 32 hit points. They have an armor class of 2, and they're dual wielding hand axes, which will do 1 to 4 points of damage versus the large sized bugbears. They will be hitting regular bugbears on 9s. They will be hitting the leader and sub chief on 10. They will be hitting the chief on 11. There are 18 total bugbears. 15 of them are just regular bugbears, which are armor class 5 usually, but because they are humanoid types, that is considered to come from armor, and the weapon versus armor adjustment for hand axes is a +1 for the armor class 5, so they'll be considered armor class 4. There's 1 leader type bugbear. The regular bugbears, they're 3 + 1 hit dice creatures. They rolled up with 16 hit points. There's 1 leader type who gets 24 hit points and is considered to attack as a 4 hit die creature and has a +1 to damage, who normally has an armor class of 4, but because he's going against the hand axes, is considered to have an armor class of 2. There's a sub chief, also with 24 hit points, also considered a 4 hit die creature to attack, also has +1 to damage, like the leader, and also will be considered to have an armor class 2 for this combat. And finally, there's a chief who is also considered a 4 hit dice monster, has 30 hit points, and gives a +2 to damage, and is considered armor class 1. The regular bugbears will be hitting on 14s. The leader types will be hitting on 13s. And I just realized, saying all that the aspis will be hitting the regular bugbears on 9, and the leader and sub chief on 11, and the chief on 12. For simplicity's sake, I'm going to say that during combat they will essentially pair up, and then the 2 extras on the bugbears, the leader and the sub chief, will be doubling up with some of the regular bugbears. And I think I did forget to mention the bugbears are using morning stars, so they'll be doing 2 to 8 hit points of damage. And without going into too much detail, I may do this at another time, I prefigured what their starting morale is going to be for both groups, using both the morale in the using the basic morale in the combat section as well as the morale in the henchman section, which applies some adjustments for how many levels or hit dice of friends and enemies are alive and dead. It's a variation. I'll go into it another time maybe. But the base morale score, or the adjusted morale score for each one, right now for the aspis it stands at 200%, and for the bugbears at 119%. And then as time goes on, those will change, going up and down depending on how the combat's going. And then of course there'll be adjustments to the die roll itself, and you're trying to roll under. The only thing I didn't roll for last time was surprise, so I'm going to roll for surprise. Since the bugbears were trying to be friendly, I'm going to say they can't surprise the aspis, so we're just going to roll to see if the bugbears are surprised when the aspis charge in and attack them. So here we go. And on a 3, they are not surprised, so it will be straight initiative for the first round. So round 1, the aspis, a 3, the bugbears, a 1. So the aspis get first strike, essentially. Most of these aspis are going to be going up against regular bugbears. One of them will be going up against the leader. I just determined at random that the leader would be one of the 3 leader types that would be 1-on-1, and the other 2 leader types will be helping out. So I'm going to roll these in groups of 4 for the regular bugbears, and then roll specifically for the leader. So 9s will hit on these. So we've got a 12 and a 13, and a 1 and 2. So that's 2 that will be hit. We've got A 16, that's a miss. But the 8, 7, and 2 are all hits. That gives us 5 hits. We've got a 12 and 11. Those are misses, but we've got 8 and a 5. So that gets us up to 7 being hit. And then 3 against regular bugbears. And 18, a 5, and a 1. That's 2 more. So that's 9 regular bugbears that have been hit. And then for the attacker on the leader, he'll need a 12 or better. And rolled an 8, so missed. So now we roll damage. They are doing, well, let's see here. They're dual welding, so we'll have to go again. All right, so 20, 11, 9, and 7. That's 2 more hits. 9, 1, 6, and 3. That's 4 more hits. 17, 6, 4, and 3. That's 3 more hits. And then 3 more. 4, 3, and 19. That's 2 more hits. So that's going to be a total of 20 hits. I'm just going to distribute them at random. And here for the second attack on the leader, a 7. That's also a miss. So we got 20 hits to distribute among the bugbears. We're just going to do it kind of evenly and roll with it. Break out some D4s here. All right. You know what? I'm going to pause while I do this damage. Okay. Only one of the bugbears was reduced below double-digit hit points by that round of damage. One of them is down to 9. So now we'll do the bugbears. They have 13 regulars. They hit on 14 or better. They've got a 16, a 13, a 20, a 2, and a 6. So only 2 hits in that round. And then the next group of 5, a 19, a 14, a 15, an 8, and a 2. So that's 3 more hits, so 5 total. And then finally, the last 3, a 15, a 20, and a 4. So a total of 7 hits out of 13 rolls. That's not bad with a 2-hit roll. 13. So now the leader types, they will all hit on 13. So here's 1, 12. Here's 1, 7. And then the chief, 4. So the leader type's not hitting very well. And so I'm going to do the 2 to 8 damage with these guys. And I'll be right back. All right, the bugbears did okay with their damage. They didn't do great. They did about average on most of their hits. So those aspis got reduced to one only to 30 and the rest into the upper 20s. So there's no one's died, so there's no need for morale check. So we'll do a initiative again. Here's the aspis, a 4. The bugbears, a 5. So the bugbears get to go first this time. So the regular bugbears attacking. Oh, come back here, Mr. Josiah. There we go. 9, 6, 3, 8, and 20. So only 1 hit out of that group. In the second group, we got a 16, a 13, an 18, a 14, and a 10. So that's 3 more hits. And then the last group here, we've got a 1, a 2, a 3, a 4, and an 18. I think I shorted the bugbears a couple of attacks last turn, so I'm going to go ahead and roll those. And those were both misses, 11 and 7. All right. Now the leader types. So the leader, 11. That's a miss. He needed a 13. Sub-chief, a 1. And the chief, a 16. Chief gets a hit. So that'll be +2 damage against that aspis. All right, let's do the damage, and then we'll be back. So the bugbears did much better on their damage that time. Nothing lower than a 6. Most of them were 7s and 8s. So they've got a couple of aspis down to 20, and then they've got some mid-20s, and then some of the ones that got hit last turn are still in the upper 20s. So now it's the aspis turn. Again, they're hitting the regular bugbears on 9s. So we've got a 10, a 10, a 14, a 13, and a 19. All right, and the next group rolls a 19, a 9, a 12, a 4, and an 8. And the last group, an 11, a 6, a 16, an 18, and a 1. Then the second group of hand axes for each of them, a 10, an 18, a 6, a 5, and a 1. A 20, a 3, a 2, a 4, and a 6. And then finally, a 9, 18, 11, 20, and 10. And then going up against the leader, he rolled an 11 and a 6. So no hits on the leader. All right, one quick retcon. One of the leader types, the sub-chief, should have been a hit because even though it was one below what they needed, it was they're attacking from the back because he's doubled up on one. And in terms of damage, several of the bugbears are now down to single digits, but there are no casualties yet, so we're going to go on to a third round. So the aspis rolled a 5, the bugbears rolled a 4. So the aspis will get to go first this time. All right, so again, first round of hand axes for everybody, and it hit the floor. All right, reroll that one. 8, 5, 13, 2, and 5. Second round here, second group, and that one hit the floor as well. I should have brought the dice tray out. All right, a 16, an 8, a 10, a 7, and an 8. And the first round here, a 16, an 18, a 16, a 14, and a 4. Now the second round of hand axes versus the regular bugbears, a 17, a 1, a 16, an 11, and a 14. Second group, 15, 20, 12, 7, and 1. And the last group, 5, 12, 4, 2, 12. And then lastly, the two attacks against the bugbear chief, a 9 and a 15, so that's one hit. All right, the leader only took 1 point of damage. There are several others who are down into the low single digits, so we could start seeing casualties again on the next round. But now the bugbears get to go. So the first round of regular bugbears, 9, 11, 7, 2, 10. No hits. Second group, 8, 10, 9, 17, 16. So 2 hits there. And the third group of regular bugbears, 6, 12, 1, 13, 11. No hits there. It's not good for the regular bugbears. All right. The leader types. The leader, a 12. That's not a hit. Sub-chief. No, I'm sorry. That is a hit because he's behind him. So that is a hit for that leader. The sub-chief rolled a 6, and the chief rolls a 2. All right, they did a little bit more damage, but still none of the aspis are below 20 hit points. All right, fourth round. Aspis, a 5. Bugbears, a 2. Aspis go again. All right, against the regular bugbears, we've got 14, 10, 6, 15, and 11. Second group, 7, 11, 13, 1, and 14. And the third group of the first round of hand axes, 12, 12, 15, 4, 4. Now the second group of hand axes, 7, 17, 18, 4, 6. Second group, 4, 13, 2, 1, 14. And then the last group, 12, 7, 10, 1, 1. And then finally the rolls against the leader, the chief, a 20 and a 12. So those are both hits. Okay, so we lost 6 bugbears out of 18. That's going to trigger a morale check because they're below 25%. The losses they have dropped their morale score to 24%, with the two sub-leaders being at 34% and the chief being at 54%. Now, adjusting to the die roll here, and we're rolling percentile dice, we're going to be adding 10% for each lost bugbear, so that's plus 60%, 10% for having casualties inflicted on them without inflicting any casualties, so we're plus 60, and then plus 5% because more than 25% of the group is dead. So that's plus 65. There's also an adjustment for outnumbered or outclassed by 3 to 1 or more. They're not outnumbered 3 to 1, but they start off really kind of outclassed almost 2 to 1 if you count hit dice. But I don't think it would still be enough to trigger that, even if you took that into account. So I'm not going to do that math. So we're going to do this roll at plus 65%. So everybody's going to fail. It's just a matter of, does the fail trigger running, or does the fail trigger surrender? That's really what this is going to be. So the percentile dice rolls 89% plus 65 is going to be 164%. Versus, I'm sorry, what I say? I said 154%. So that's versus 24% versus 34% and versus 54%. So that's 100% or better for all of them. So that's well above the 51% surrender. So the bugbears surrender to the aspis. So what does this mean in terms of the aspis? The aspis entry in the Monster Manual 2 says they're considered mysterious by humans. They are seldom encountered in populated areas unless raiding for food. They commonly live in small groups tending their own business and only occasionally dealing with outsiders. Few people can ever report meeting one of these creatures. And later on it talks about how occasionally there's a 10% chance that giant ants will live with them in their nest. So I think what this means in terms of the bugbears surrendering is the aspis are probably going to see this as an opportunity to use the bugbears to augment raiding groups and maybe do some heavy labor if they run into something besides the soft dirt and soil that they normally dig into, because it says that their layers are dug into soft rock and dirt. So the bugbears will be available for harder dirt to expand, say, a cave system with hard rock in it. So this will raise an interesting dynamic, I think, down the road, where how long will the bugbears work for the aspis before they want to go their own way and no longer be beholden to them? So there could be a tension building there. But for now, and if they end up doing raids that do well, they may not care. So these bugbears are not even going to make it to the keep where the players are staying, where the rest of their tribe were located. So interesting turn of events there. The opening music of this podcast is Strength of the Titans, and the closing music is Late Night Radio, both by Kevin MacLeod of Incompetech.com, licensed under Creative Commons by Attribution 4.0 license. Thank you for listening to Phantom Thoughts. I would love to hear your feedback. You don't have to be part of the show. If you want to contact me and let me know, hey, these are for your eyes only, I just wanted to give you thoughts, ideas, response, and it's really for your eyes or ears only, that's absolutely fine. I'd love to hear from you either way. So just let me know when you contact me. Just, I don't want to be part of the show. There are lots of different ways you can contact me. You can send me an email at phantomthoughtspodcast@gmail.com. And that can be a regular email, or you can attach an audio file to it. You can use the message button on my podcast site on podcasters.spotify.com/pod/show/phantom thoughts. You can contact me via my Google Voice number, 864-209-1010. 1441. You can contact me via SpeakPipe at www.speakpipe.com/Phantom Thoughts. You can contact me on Discord, The Pink Phantom. All this contact information is listed in the show notes of every episode. And thank you for those who call in. Thank you for those who don't call in. I appreciate you listening and hope you'll listen again next time. Until then, I hope you have a great day.